Welcome to Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where you get unconventional insights into retirement and lifestyle design that actually work. You don't have to settle for the same tired Wall Street advice. Break away from the herd and learn how to achieve the retirement lifestyle of your dreams. And now, here's your host, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
All right, that's my cue to jump back in. I am the income engineer, Kraig Strom, here, broadcasting from the Personal Pension Radio Studio Workshop in Southern California, brought to you by personalpensionradio.com. If you haven't been to the website, definitely just check it out. I keep back episodes, and I do my best to get all the transcripts and show notes and things like that up there on that website at personalpensionradio.com. If you are looking for something that I have not posted on personalpensionradio.com, fear not. Please just send me an email at personalpensionradio.com. You can contact me there through the site. You can also find me, anywhere. Just search for Kraig with a K, Strom, Kraigstrom. You'll find me all over the web. You might find my car show page, my Facebook page. You might find my LinkedIn page. You'll probably find my LinkedIn page if you go to kraigstrom.com. Well, let's jump right in. Make sure that I don't delay one of my New Year's resolutions. I don't really make too many New Year's resolutions. One of them is to make sure this show is tighter. It's a lot of feedback from listeners. Make sure it's tighter, quicker, get to the point, and make sure the episodes don't always go past a certain time frame, if you know what I mean. So what is Personal Pension Radio all about? Well, if you can't guess by the title, my title, The Income Engineer, it's all about retirement income, and more importantly, about optimizing retirement income. Optimizing retirement income does not happen with a product. It doesn't happen with a mutual fund. It doesn't happen with a 401k, with annuities. It doesn't happen with real estate. It doesn't happen with life insurance. None of these products that are sold will optimize retirement income by themselves. Now, when you put together an actual integrated approach where life insurance and stocks and bonds and real estate and these assets start to really work together, magic. That's where maximum retirement income comes from. That's where it comes from. This show is really inspired by the lack of conversation around retirement income. Everybody talks about saving for retirement. Very little conversation out there in the financial world about retirement income and the economic principles that go with retirement income planning. It's so important that you know that. The economics of retirement income, extremely different than retirement accumulation. Very, very different. I'm going to touch on that today in one of the segments here in the show. But before I just jump in, quick disclosure, I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA. I am a certified financial planner professional. I'm also a chartered financial consultant, and I've got a bunch of other licenses and certifications and various other things to go with all of my years. But despite all of my experience and qualifications and such and such and such, please do not act on things that you hear on my show as if they're advice for you in your personal life. And especially, please do not act on things that you hear from financial entertainers on the radio or on a podcast or unlicensed financial entertainers, non-regulated, no watchdogs, no background, and they're out there operating under the freedom of speech, which I'm a firm believer in. Unfortunately, freedom of speech when you're giving out financial advice can be extremely dangerous. So please don't act on things that you hear on this show, but especially from financial entertainers and people who write in magazines and various blogs out there. Make sure that you meet with a qualified financial advisor, someone who is going to really take the time to get to know you and ask questions. And I will be honest, I would love that person to be me. I've had a number of listeners call in and go to my website at personalpensionradio.com and request a conversation with me. That is fantastic. I love it. So please, if you are unsure about whether you're headed in the right direction for retirement and retirement lifestyle that you might really look forward to, don't wait. Don't second guess it. Find out. Contact me at Personal Pension Radio or find me at kraigstrom.com, of course, and get in touch. If this is what your New Year's resolution is, do it. Do it today. Now, let's jump in. First section. Watch your step. Now, starting out the new year, just want to refresh those who are new listening to the show. Watch your step is a reference back to my childhood growing up in Maine. I learned how to work at a young age. So my summers were not always just spent hanging out doing nothing. I actually got to go work on the farm, or I got to go clean out the sheep barn, or I got to go do whatever. Oftentimes, I ended up in places where you would have to watch where you were stepping because you didn't know exactly what you might end up stepping in, if you know what I mean. So this segment is about you out there in the world bombarded with information from just every website and every corner possible, giving financial advice and financial this and 5 points for that and 7 points for this and this great stock or this next best thing. Please, watch your step. And this segment is just meant to give you just little pieces of that to hopefully encourage you as far as you're out there researching things for yourself. Watch your step. So here we go. Two or three things in here. Couple is two or three. Anyway, so a few things. Number one, tax time is coming up fast. Please don't get sucked into this prevailing idea that, it's April 15th and you better fund your IRA, you better fund your Roth IRA, you better max out your 401k, right? Well, you maybe missed that for the end of the year, but fund an IRA, fund a 401, fund a Roth IRA. Don't get sucked into this accumulation advice, even if it's from your accountant, if you don't have emergency cash set aside. If you don't have the basic fundamentals, remember, protection first. Protect the castle first. Then build a strong foundation. In the financial terms, that's liquidity. That's emergency money. That's cash on hand. Don't stick money into an IRA that carries penalties and major restrictions when you have not built an emergency fund. Please remember that. Don't do that, because the IRA and the Roth IRA, they all have their limitations, especially in the IRA. You put it in there, you get a tax postponement. Remember, there's no such thing as a tax deduction for an IRA. You get a tax postponement. But if you needed that in an emergency, there's some emergencies, major emergencies, that you don't get to waive the 10% early penalty or early withdrawal penalty. So please, don't get sucked into this idea, this accumulation mindset that you have to fund your IRA despite not having any emergency fund. So please, protection first, and then cash on hand for a strong foundation. And speaking of tax time, just a good reminder, start gathering your data now. Start gathering your receipts and putting together your notes for your expenses, business travel, work-related expenses, anything that you might have that's going to go towards your taxes. Now's the time to start getting that information together in preparation for the visit with your accountant. What's that you say? You don't have an accountant? Well, I'm going to suggest that if you don't have an accountant and you pay taxes, right? So if you don't have an accountant and you don't pay taxes, well, that's probably not a big deal, unless you need an accountant to actually do your taxes correctly to find out that you really should be paying taxes. But if you actually pay taxes and you do not have an accountant, I would encourage you to seriously think about interviewing an accountant. interview an accountant, because the tax code is so tremendously complicated. I was about to say flawed. I guess you could argue that it's flawed as well, but it's extremely complicated. And in the last 2 years, the tax code has gotten even more hairy scary. Really, you shouldn't be doing it on your own. There's too much risk to do your taxes on your own. Now, I am actually going to be interviewing a great accountant coming up in an upcoming episode. So look for that. Going to have a tax preparation interview with an awesome accountant coming up soon. I'll keep you in suspense for now. Now, last thing in Watch Your Step. And this one drives me nuts. Come on. New research from a financial services think tank. This is LIMRA. Now, LIMRA, so we don't have this acronym sitting out there, is the Life Insurance Marketing Research Association. I think that's what LIMRA stands for. But here's what they found, and I'll put show notes in here and links, but they found that 49% of Americans are not contributing to any kind of retirement savings plan. They're not putting any money in for retirement. Almost half. Okay, wait a minute. Those of you out there, like myself, who are saving for retirement, who are working towards retirement, and you're trying to save up some money for retirement, I want you to think about this. Half the people around you are not, right? Half the people around you are not saving for retirement. So if that's the case, and those people get into that retirement age without any money saved for retirement, who are they going to look for to help them? Don't say you and me and us. No, they're going to look to the government to help them. You see, the 49% that doesn't save for retirement, they don't have the power to come after my retirement or your retirement. Who has the power to come after your retirement? The government does, right? So if 49% of Americans are not saving for retirement, and they might end up at a retirement age with no money saved, they're going to look to the government to bail them out, to help them, right? So if they look to the government to help them, then who's the government going to go after to pay for those benefits? Right. So here's a great plan. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your coworkers about saving for retirement. Encourage them to listen to shows like this. Encourage them to save in that 401k. Encourage them to be saving, right? And protect yourself. Make sure that you have as much information as you possibly can, that you're building a retirement savings and a retirement income plan that is not going to be at risk of the government coming after you to pay for a bunch of people who did not save for retirement. So watch out for that. It's true. It's happening. I've seen multiple surveys like this from companies like MetLife and others that have T. Rowe Price did a study last year as well. Same stuff. Okay. So now onward, segment number 2, listener question, right? So this is a listener question. It says, Kraig, I heard Dave Ramsey. All right, so Dave Ramsey is a big financial entertainer. Huge financial entertainer, okay? He's got a big operation. So I'm probably taking a risk even talking about this particular question, but I'm going to do my best to answer the question and actually include references back to support my position on the answer here. So now, I heard Dave Ramsey tell a caller on his show that they will not need life insurance when they retire. He said they will have a paid-off house. Oh, yeah, I've heard this before. No debt and enough money in their 401k so they could self-insure. What do you, then they say this. What say you? Question mark, right? Okay. So, great question. So, I have heard this before. I have actually, just for the record, I think most of the fundamental financial discussions and education that Dave Ramsey offers is good. Good, solid fundamentals. I just wish that's where Dave Ramsey would stay, in the shallow end of the financial pool, giving out vanilla, generic, fundamental financial education. Unfortunately, Dave Ramsey starts often giving advice in very complex areas that is completely inappropriate, misleading, and economically wrong. Okay, that's where I really get annoyed. It just bugs me. So I have heard this same thing on Dave Ramsey's show, and because I listen, I have not been able to listen for a while because I haven't felt strong enough emotionally to be able to survive listening to his show. I have listened to his show more than most people who actually are fans of his show. I have listened to his show a lot because I want to know what he's saying and what he's said and what kind of advice he's giving, because inevitably I'm going to meet people that are going to parrot back what Dave says, whether it's true or not. They parrot it back. And I've heard him actually say something similar, that, hey, you're going to have a certain amount of money and you won't need any life insurance when you retire because your kids are gone, your house is paid off, and you've got a bunch of money in your 401k. I guess your wife will just have to suffer through. I've heard him say that on his show, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to put a link in because I don't want to have any pushback here from the Dave Ramsey organization. Then again, I can't imagine that the Dave Ramsey team would care what little old Kraig, the income engineer, has to say. Now, so I'll put links in here so that you can reference it yourself, especially if you're a Dave Ramsey fan. Great. I'd love to talk to you. I'd absolutely love to talk to you, as long as you're willing to actually back up these points with economically verifiable information, right? So this is what I'm going to do. Let's go through this, because here's what I did. I actually went and I researched it on Dave Ramsey's own site. So because this person who wrote in with this question, they did not reference the specific episode or anything like that. So I actually went and researched it, and sure enough, here's the website here on DaveRamsey.com, the blog, and it's under the truth about life insurance. So there's a link in the show notes, and if I don't have that show note up soon enough and you want it quicker, just send me an email and I'll send you the link and you can have it. But here's the quote from the website, right? So like I said, I've heard this several times. I've heard it on his show several times. Here's what it says in his website. If you follow the baby steps, so these are the baby steps to financial independence, etc., that he's very famous for. He says, if you follow the baby steps, you will begin investing well. Then, when you are 57 years old and the kids are grown and gone, the house is paid for, and you have $700,000 in mutual funds, you'll become self-insured. That means when your 20-year term is up, you shouldn't need life insurance at all, because with no kids to feed, no house payment, and $700,000, your spouse will just have to suffer through it if you die without insurance. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm taken back by this. Every time I've heard this before, and this is one of the reasons I just can't listen to this show all the time anymore, because this is the kind of absolutely irresponsible, fundamentally wrong, bad advice that is woven in with the good generic fundamental advice that he gives out. He puts this out on the table. So let's break this down, because I don't believe in just a soundbite and saying, well, I don't believe in that. Kraig's the income engineer said so. Let's work it through, and then you be the judge. Okay? So here we go. $700,000 in mutual funds. You will become self-insured. Well, for the record, okay, apparently the caller, the person who wrote in, and I've heard this as a 401k reference, not just saving in mutual funds. So $700,000 in mutual funds, if this was a 401k reference, let's talk about this, okay? First of all, just again, please don't parrot the source. Don't listen to the parrot, let alone the source, if they can't back up their claim. So let's walk through this. To my knowledge, Dave Ramsey has never accurately backed up his retirement advice with proof that works for anyone. That he's never backed it up with any kind of proof that his retirement advice works for anyone. And you'll see what I mean when we walk through this. Number one, $700,000. You'll have $700,000 in mutual funds. Well, where do people accumulate $700,000 in mutual funds? Well, that's usually in a 401k if they saved in a 401k. So question number one, who is the primary beneficiary of every 401k in America? The primary beneficiary gets paid first. That's right. The primary beneficiary of your 401k is the government, is Uncle Sam. When you take a withdrawal from a 401k, remember, taxes on the 401k are postponed until you retire, at which point the government gets their money, right? So the first mistake that Dave makes here is you do not have $700,000. This person doesn't have $700,000 when they're talking to Dave. They actually have a partner. They have a primary beneficiary, right? And they have a position that is akin to having minority voting rights. That, right? When you have a 401k, you are the minority voting partner in a forced partnership. And the primary voting partner is the government, right? So when you look at it, a $700,000 401k has about a 30% tax bracket, let's guess, right? Because you got $700,000 and you're looking at Social Security and then taking withdrawals out of your 401k and you have no mortgage to deduct and you have no children to deduct. What if you're in a 30% tax bracket? Well, guess what? 30% of $700,000 is $210,000. $210,000 of that 401k does not belong to her. This person, whoever this was that Dave was writing about here, right? This is the quote from his website that I keep referencing back to. They don't have $700,000. They actually only have $490,000 because $210,000 belongs to the government. They will get paid first. They will get their money as they take withdrawals over time. So if we look at the amount that actually belongs to this person, right? The amount that is an after-tax amount, $490,000. And if we look at the almighty 4% rule, that's what Wall Street financial advisors will say to this poor woman or this poor man if they walked in the door with this $490,000 that actually belongs to them in the $700,000 account. You see, 4% of $490,000 is $19,600. That is the recommended income rate that most financial advisors suggest. So if we look at the net, right, after tax, we're looking at about $20,000 a year. Congratulations, everyone. You had $700,000. Oh, yay. You should be fine on $20,000 a year, right? No, of course not. That's not what people are thinking. They're thinking, oh, it's 4% on $700,000. Well, so what? It's 4% on $700,000 minus 30%. You're going to come back down to the same numbers, right? $20,000 in income on $490,000, I'm guessing is a whole lot less income than this person that Dave is writing to here on his blog. Someone who has actually been able to save up $700,000 in a 401k or mutual funds or wherever, guarantee you they are not earning $20,000 a year. They're not living on 20. And even if you add Social Security to this, let's throw in another $30,000. Great. $49,000 a year as a retirement income? No, I don't think that's what they were expecting when they were retiring or going towards retirement, right? Now, here's the thing that gets me even more, is that not only does Dave Ramsey fail to talk about the realities of taxes on 401ks and taxes in general, right? He also has been on record suggesting that you can take as much as 8% income in retirement, 8% income. So remember I said 4% is $19,600. Well, 8% of course would be $39,200. Now here's the problem. What Dave does not tell you, or what Dave Ramsey does not know, I have to imagine that someone told him along the way, but what he doesn't tell people is that if you actually tried to take an 8% income rate in retirement from your investment accounts, you'd have about a 75% chance that you would die broke. Die broke. 8% does not work, right? So when you hear someone say, I've got $1 million in my 401k, you can confidently say, you are wrong. You are absolutely flat out wrong. You do not have $1 million in your 401k. You and your majority voting partner, right? They have the other $400,000 of your account, right? You do not have $1 million in your 401k. You and your partner are in it together. Part of it's yours, part of it's theirs, the government, right? Now, as I was researching this, oh my gosh, my head was going to explode because as I'm reading through this, and like I said, the link is here so that I can reference back. I'm not sharing anything or making anything up. I got nothing up my sleeves, right? Dave Ramsey is still on his website telling people they can expect an average return of 12% on their investments. While I was looking for the link for this quote that I knew I had heard this on Dave's show before, I'm looking for this link, and there it is in this same blog post that you can average mutual funds at 12% average return. Oh my gosh, that is terrible that he's still putting that out there. Okay. So I'm going to encourage you, please think this through for yourself. Please don't drink this Kool-Aid without stepping back. If you are a Dave Ramsey fan, please just listen to this next few minutes and think it through yourself, right? Make up your own mind. Okay. That's what I want to make sure that you get that part. So now, here's a question for you. When you save and invest for retirement or anything, do most of us put all of our money, all that we will ever put in, up front in one big lump sum? Let's say a great example. You know what? Over my lifetime, I will invest $500,000. It'll take me X number of years, but instead, I'm just going to put $500,000 in right now and start with that. I'm going to do that when I'm 30, right? No, of course not. We, in the real world, we put our money in over time. We usually do it monthly, quarterly, yearly, but monthly is our common savings cycle, right? We do not invest in an average world. We invest in a real world. So I went back to real world market returns and I tried to find in recent history a 20-year period going back that actually had a 12% average rate of return. So I actually had to settle on 1995 to 2014. That was pretty close to where we're at now. But the average rate of return from 1995, 20 years, to 2014 was actually 11.65%. So it was not 12%. Now, some people would say, oh, that's only 0.35% difference. That's actually off by a solid, percentage rate. I mean, that's a significant difference, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so here's the thing. The average rate of return of 12%, I do not know where that exists in recent history. That Dave Ramsey continues to publish that on his website, I cannot understand because it doesn't exist in recent history. 11.65 was the best I could find in recent history going back to 1995. Okay? But it still doesn't matter because we do not invest in an average return. The only way the average return works is if you or I put $250,000 into our investment account back in 1995 and then we left it alone until 2014. We didn't touch it. We didn't add to it. We didn't subtract from it. We just left it alone for 20 years. Of course, that never happens. That does not happen. In the real world, we put in monthly or annual contributions. All of our money is not in during the good times. And of course, all of our money is not in during the bad times. So here's the real world example. If you had contributed $15,000 per year, doesn't really matter what the per year is, but let's just say $15,000 per year, starting in 1995, once a year until 2014. What do you think the rate of return is? Because Dave Ramsey says it's a 12% average, which is wrong. So if it's actually 11.65. But if we have a real world example, what do we think? 15,000 per year, 1995 to 2014. The real world rate of return, 8.09%. That, by the way, is 32.5% lower than what Dave Ramsey tells his loyal fans. His audience has heard him say 12% for years, and he is so wrong. He is just given out, in my opinion, full disclosure, this is right off of his website, still published on his website. It's amazing that he still has this up because it is verifiably inaccurate, completely wrong. The real rate of return is 8.09% if you invest annually over the course of a 20-year cycle. That's the truth of it, right? That is the reality of it. 32.58% lower than what Dave Ramsey tells his audience. So please, if you are out there wondering about retirement, if you're wondering if you're on track, if you're looking at your own 401k statement now and you're thinking, wow, I never thought about the fact that I don't actually have $500,000 in there. If you're starting to think about it, that's a great time to take action. Go to Personal Pension Radio, go to kraigstrom.com, get in touch with me, contact me, let's have a conversation. I am here to tell you that we can turn the light on at the end of your retirement tunnel and give you something to shoot for, something to look forward to, but you've got to have someone who specializes in retirement income, not just accumulation. So I want to wrap up with that. I want to wrap up with my saying, if you will. It's going to be my mantra for 2017, that the future belongs to those who take action. Seriously, take action. Get off the log. Don't be that frog left on the log. Remember the riddle, 4 frogs on a log and 3 of them decide to jump. How many frogs are left? All 4 of them are still there because they decided to jump. They didn't do it. Take action today and get off the log. Make sure that you do it. I'm looking forward to getting your call, to getting your emails. Keep sending in the questions. These are awesome. Again, Happy New Year. I'll talk to you again next week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you're there, we would appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening. Now for the disclosure. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended for solicitation, sale or purchase of any security or financial product. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and your tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed here. The term personal pension refers to a marketing name designed to educate future retirees and retirees about the economic principles behind creating their own pension-like income. The term personal pension is not intended to be confused with a defined benefit pension plan offered by an employer or by a government entity.